Satnam, yogis and yoginis, hello, welcome back. Welcome to the stream. Welcome to one more video on numbers, number 7. We are carrying on. We just started the number 7 introduction in the last video, and today we're going to dive deep into mind games, which is a wonderful, let's say, difficult topic to talk about. Difficult because most of us, if you have a little bit of self-awareness, you're going to be confronted by your own demons. And so finding out the things that in your mind that are challenging, that's going to be like a big self-confrontation. And I would say one of the most important to work with, the mind being our instrument to connect to our divinity. At the same time, the mind being the obstacle to connect to our divinity, being both things, right? This inner instrument, this antakarana, and at the same time, the obstacles, right? The mind is linked to the ego. So if we don't work on the mind, forget it. Forget about the rest of the spiritual path. This is critical. This is the point that is most critical to start with, actually, in the spiritual path. Working on what's happening in your mind should be the first step, really. And this is why when we are exploring Karam Kriya, numerology, then the first number we begin with is number 7. This is something we were talking in the very first introduction when we began with introduction to numbers. Just move the camera a little bit. We said that we would start with number 7 because 7 was the mind. And this is the reasoning. Yeah, we have to figure it out. What is in our mind that is not going to be helping us to learn anything else, and to have the right attitude for the inner work, that the spiritual path requires. So we just came from another course, which was the course on the mind. So it's great that we have been looking and observing how the mind works in great detail, all the many pieces of the mind, how they are operating. And we saw the link between ego and mind and consciousness. If you haven't watched those videos, there's like 10 or 12 videos or so, really interesting stuff on understanding how the mind works from a Western perspective and from an Eastern perspective. Now, if you have been through that course, now you know how it works, but now how to deal with it? Yeah, how do we do with the way it works? How can we deal with the way it works? Well, this is where the Karam Kriya can help a lot. Particularly what we're going to be talking today is how to deal with the mind games. The games that the mind plays with us. And when I say mind, you're going to have to be aware most of the time what I'm going to be saying is the ego mind, which is like a complex. Yeah, it's like a particle, and both things are together. Like in water, there's H2O, right? There's the hydrogen and the oxygen. When we talk about mind, you have to assume it's mind and the ego linked together very much like a particle. So we are going to have to explore what are these aspects of the ego mind which are playing games with us, and through playing these games. Why do we use the word games? I think that's a good place to start. Sometimes it's called also intrigues, the intrigues of the mind, particularly in the Kundalini Yoga training, level 2, the level 2 on the mind. This is called mental intrigues. So I want to make sure that you hear that word as well, just in case. Though I'm going to be calling them just mind games, but understand that it's also mental intrigues. Now, I call them mental games. Why? Because a game is something that you play, and you generally play. You can play by yourself, but it's generally there is some objective, something that determines whether you win or you lose. And much of the nature of the games is that they are generally entertaining, which means that, they trap your attention, and you get, end up utilizing, your energy, your time, your effort in playing the game to get the reward that you want to get. And we were going to talk about this in detail. And also, it could be potentially addicting. Yeah, when you play a game, it's difficult to stop. Yeah, you may have experienced this playing cards or playing dominoes or playing a computer game, and then not wanting to stop. or wanting to stop but not being able to, right? Telling yourself, oh, I need to go to sleep, it's too late, and then just one more, right? So this is what happens in life with our mental games. The mind is playing these games on us. We are playing the game. We are not aware of the reward. We are just being distracted and addicted by them. The ego is very addictive. And sometimes we don't even know the rules of the game. We're just playing the game without actually knowing the rules. So that's kind of nasty. And so we want to break down this whole mechanism today. That's the objective of today. So that's a big objective, I would say, for today. But let's start from where we came from the last video. In the last video, we were talking how 7 is found in many places in the world, in the life, in our experience. One very clear is the 7 colors of the rainbow, which determine our capacity to see the world. 7 being like a platform where we sit on top and we observe and emit some judgment on the world. So this is the main point where we're going to take it on today. Because when we sit on top of this platform of the 7, the platform of the mind, which begins that it is the highest number, right? Because remember, 7 musical notes, 7 days of the week. When you get to Sunday, you think there is nothing else. There's just another Monday. So tomorrow is going to be Monday again, so there's nothing else. 7 colors of the rainbow, 7 days of the week. All these things are telling us there is no number 8. And the reason we explored the other day is because 8 is death, is the number of death, and the 9 is the beyond. So from the point of the 7, the perspective of the 7, there's nothing else. This is why, from a mental, intellectual perspective, when you start talking about something that is more spiritual, the mind, with its own incredulity and let's say skepticism, right? It's gonna go into full negation mode, like no, nothing of that exists because there's only these 7 things. There's nothing beyond, right? So when you are talking about something spiritual, for somebody who's very intellectual and very rational, they will say, no, you are imagining things, or I'm sure there is a very perfectly scientific explanation of why you think you are having those experiences, and they will reject any kind of something beyond, any kind of experience about something beyond. So the 7 thinks that it knows everything, right? And the 7 is in the position of very much a position of the scientist and even the engineer, right? Engineer would be more into the 3, but okay, the scientist, let's say, who will say, I only accept something that can be proven by our scientific understanding and our scientific experiments. And okay, I mean, that's the position, that's the general position of the 7. And actually, this is a challenge for many people who are very intelligent and intellectual. I would say more intellectual and intelligent, but okay, this is going to be a challenge for many people who are very intelligent. When they come into the spiritual path, they realize they see that a lot of the spiritual path requires opening yourself up to something unknown, something that cannot be proved. And that, for the 7, dislikes that it doesn't have that opening naturally. You need to bring some other aspect of yourself to help the mind stay open to what is this beyond. So actually the numbers can help. When you see the numbers, you can recognize that there is something beyond the 7. There is a number 8 and a number 9. So maybe you don't understand everything. And actually, that's what I would say about the difference between intellectual and intelligent. Because if you are truly intelligent, you will recognize that, look, science has modern science is really like very new in the planet, very recent. And if you saw the kind of understandings and thoughts and beliefs that were absolutely approved and assumed like they were true 150 years ago, it would be like, oh, I cannot believe we believed in those things. And now with the normal, like modern understanding of the world, it's like, wow, that seems so stupid. How could they believe that? Even things like, the Earth being flat and the planet Earth being the center of the universe and things like that. I mean, those are just very basic concepts, but there's many more, right? And now we think, well, that's just It's just silly. But when you were living like 500 years ago, there would be absolutely no question to that. You would assume that the planet was flat. You would assume that the planet Earth is the center of the universe. And anybody who thought anything else, they were crazy. Okay? So why do we now, that we have another understanding, a bit more refined than 500 years ago, but whenever somebody says something that is outside of your parameters of what you know, you think they are crazy. So again, this is like the being above others, right? The seven is the platform of elevation, but very quickly you can think that it's above others, and I know better than you because I have science behind me. So if my science cannot prove what you are saying, you are an idiot and you are crazy. So that's a very egotistical and superiority complex kind of position to take. And so, but if we applied some intelligence, look, whatever we believe now is going to be, there's going to be new laws, a new understanding, and new things that are going to disprove what we believe now. Not everything, but some of the things, right? So why not understand and assume that there's going to be some things that we don't understand? So that would be a first healthy approach to things. However, we are sitting on top of the platform. We are with our minds. We are looking into the world. And even if we accept that there's going to be things that we don't understand, we operate from that platform of our understanding. So we are in this platform. And we are seeing at the world. We are looking at the world, sorry. So what we see from the world, we're going to judge it and filter it through our own understanding. And we are going to judge it from our own perspective. Now, judgment doesn't have to be bad. Judgment is going to be the first element into this world of mind games. It is a very important element. Because we say, the seventh day, God created the earth and the heavens, and the seventh day looked at the creation and he said, it's fine, right? So he was looking at it and he was emitting a judgment, right? It, I don't know, the divine, right? Let's not take any gender on that. But, okay. So, number 7, looking and judgment, the mission of the judgment is inevitable. That's going to happen in any case. And now, the argument is that is not bad. Now, if I want to grab this cup of tea, this is a very simple, yeah? But if I want to grab it, I need to judge the distance between myself and the cup of tea so that my hand doesn't go like that, right? Not like this, yeah? For my hand to grab it. Just this very simple thing, which is based on vision, right? The mind needs to guide the hand to the cup. And that requires judging the distance. So judgment is an important quality. And now this is a very simple physical example, but we can bring this to a mental realm as well. Satnam, dear Sohail, hello, welcome to the stream. Good to see you here. Welcome. Have a cup of tea while we are talking, yeah? And we are going into mind games today, so feel free to write your whatever you feel about that, yeah? Let's have a cup of tea. So for me to grab the cup, I need to judge the distance from the cup. For me to climb stairs, I need to jump the height of the steps to adjust the foot. So vision, is very necessary for judging my place in the world around me. And that's literally, like physically, the physical space that I'm around, but it's also figuratively. It's also what's happening in our mental space when we see something, a situation that is playing out, and then we emit our own judgment, our own understanding of how far am I, how close am I, do I want to grab this on or do I not want to grab this on, right? So let's take it literally. Somebody's giving you a cup of tea. Instead of that, somebody's saying something about you, right? And then you can choose to take it or not. So do I take it or not? Do I judge that this tea is for me, right? Somebody's saying something. I have to emit some judgment. Is that true, what they are saying about me? Is that useful for me? Do I need that? Can I get something out of that? Is it useful? Or should I just let it go? Now that's a judgment as well. And I would say that's a critical capacity to develop, Because if you just take everything that is given to you and everything that goes in front of your eyes, then there is no, I think it's called locus of control, something like that. There's no control of what comes in and what comes out of yourself, particularly what comes in. So, and if you cannot control what comes in, then you cannot control your reaction, and your reaction will determine what comes out. So that's going to be very important as well. So if I cannot control what comes in, if I take everything that is given to me, it's like there is no permeable membrane to my brain. And then how people think about me and what people say about me are going to have a total influence of how I feel inside. So that's actually letting go of your responsibility for your emotions and your feelings, because you are putting it on them. Like, oh, they said that to me. Somebody said something nasty to me and that's why I'm angry. Well, hold on. You choose to be angry because you choose to react to what somebody is saying to you. So at some point, your critical capacity to discriminate whether that is for you or not was faulty. It wasn't working. Your permeable layer was not working. And so somebody was saying something and you just took it. Yeah, they offered it to you. They say something nasty and you took it. And you drank from that poison and now you're feeling sick and now you're getting angry. And then I'm getting angry because look at what they did to me. Look at what they said to me. And you hurt me with your words. Nobody hurt you unless they, pierce you with a sword. The words, you can choose to take them on or not. You can choose to feel hurt or not. That's the thing about having your locus of control, your capacity to choose, your permeable membrane, whether you let something in or not. So that comes from your judgment. You have to judge, is this for me or not? Do I want to take it or not? And if you are capable of emitting that kind of judge from an elevated position, then you can choose not to take things and not to react, and therefore you are responsible for how you feel and what you take. Judgment is the instrument of the rational mind. That's right. So hell yeah. And we need to have to tune in how to emit the right kind of judgment. The thing about mind is linked to our understanding of the world. The mind is how the mind understands the world. And that, we hear from the Buddhists talking about the right understanding and the wrong understanding. So judgment is the instrument of the rational mind, yes, and it understands the world. And if we have the wrong understanding, that instrument is going to be like a knife that is going to cut ourselves. But if we apply the right understanding, that knife can be used like a scalpel to operate and clean a wound and bring healing. So the knife is just a knife, it's how we use it, right? So how we use that instrument of the rational mind, that's going to be critical whether the judgment becomes something that is going to be hurting us and others, or is a critical function useful for ourselves to stay healthy mentally. So very, very important, this judgment quality. But nowadays, I fight a lot against political correctness, yeah? This is something that really, it makes me a little bit like, cringy when I hear that word. Because it's very politically incorrect now to say that judgment is good. I mean, judgment is not even good nor bad. It's just an instrument, right? A knife, is it good or bad? Neither is an instrument, right? In the same way, the judgment, nowadays there is a lot of judgment that judgment is bad. You see? It's quite incredible when you see people judgment. No, judgment is wrong, you shouldn't judge. Well, hold on. If you're saying you shouldn't judge, you are just judging it like something is wrong. Like judgment is wrong itself. And judgment is not. It's just a capacity. It's just an instrument. It's just a faculty that we can employ from the rational mind. But we have to learn how to employ it in the right way. So right understanding is critical there. However, when we don't apply it in the right way, that's when judgment becomes one of the leaders of the mind games. And mind games, the whole topic about mind games, you can see them like gangs, like in a city, unruly city, right? And there is all these gangs that are fighting against each other and fighting against the people, right? And nobody's safe in that city because anytime you come out of your house at night, there's going to be all these gangs roaming around, and even at day, during the day as well. So you are, as soon as you come out, you are in danger of being attacked and robbed and killed or whatever. So I'm using metaphors, right? But the mind likes metaphors. So I'm trying to speak in metaphors so that the mind can understand. There is gangs of mind games, and they are roaming around your mind. And whenever something is happening and you allow some thought to come out, this is like coming into the streets, these gangs are going to take the thought and they're going to do all sorts of things to it. So we need to, first of all, understand what these gangs are and how they relate to each other and how they play. And then understanding the rules of the game, of these mind games, then we can choose how to deal with them. So first of all, we need to identify all these things. Now, this is why judgment is so important. Judgment is one of the leaders of a big gang. Let me write it down. Let me put some, well, let's identify the elements first of all. Now, if we are judging someone, let's say somebody does something and we think it's something wrong, right? There's one saying, nothing is right or wrong, thinking makes it so. Yeah. So you only think something is right or wrong depending on your thoughts, right? Depending on what you see, your thoughts will evaluate in some way. In your culture, it will be that way, and maybe somebody's culture is completely different. So whatever you think is right or wrong, it depends from your own culture, your own education, your own background. That's all on the realm of the human realm. So I'm not talking about like universal code of ethics. I'm not talking about some universal principles that can guide us, like the ones we have just been exploring recently with the Mul Mantra and its 10 virtues, right? Or with the code of chivalry that I explored in another video. So those are more kind of universal qualities that we can all recognize and value. But most of our judgment does not go from those values. It goes from some petty little understanding of what we think is right or wrong. Now, when we emit a judgment, let's follow the metaphor. If there is a judgment, first of all, it is coming out of some particular, let's say somebody is judged like they are guilty of committing a crime. Let's say they robbed a store. Okay, so there is some laws that protect people's properties, and therefore you going into somebody's house or business and stealing their things and not paying money, that's going against the laws. So that means that there is law setting laws. Yeah, somebody setting laws. There is some sort of judges that are saying, well, let's set the laws for what are the laws that we are going to be abiding to. So let's write the elements down so that we don't miss any. Yeah. Let's put a new page. This is gonna be mind games. And so we take judgment as one of them. Well, and I'm saying judgment is not a mind game by itself, it's how we apply the judgment, yeah? So we will see this. So if we are emitting a judgment, that's because there is some laws. And so some judge was emitting some kind of laws on that. So this is linked to the judge. Yeah? The judge says, these are the laws that we're going to abide by, I think. And so, okay, now there are some laws in place. Now somebody has to be checking whether somebody is following the laws or not. So now we have another element, which is the policeman. Yeah? So there is some laws, and somebody has to enforce these laws, look around who is doing something bad. I can see this. There was a stage, I think it was last year in my daughter's school, where there was a lot of finger pointing. You know, the kids were like, do you know that girl in my class did something today? And they were like, no, she did it. No, she did it. And there was like a lot of finger pointing and telling everyone when somebody did something wrong. So it's a lot of policing, right? And all right, so that's the kind of attitude that I'm referring. Yeah. So there is some laws, and there is a policeman who says the law was broken, and it's taken in front of a judge, and they say they are guilty, and then if they are guilty, they need to be punished in some way. So this is going to be brought to the punisher. And the punisher can be, if it like in a real situation, it can be for death. It can be, let's it's like death sentence. So executioner. Yeah. And but if it's not for death, they're going to have to be in prison to suffer the punish. Maybe they will be punished, but also they will be held in some sort of prison. So there we go. Now we have a jailer, yeah, keeping you in prison. And yeah, so if there is a jailer, who is holding the keys to that jail? That's going to be important as well. And what else? Okay, there's more elements here. Now, the judge has decided whether a person is going to be, guilty or innocent. Yeah. So guilt, and if somebody is guilty, yeah. If it's guilty of something, then that means that somebody was also a victim. Yeah. So there's somebody who suffered, somebody who created the suffering on the others. And then, what else? Well, there is also the emotions that are going to be associated to this. Shame and pride. Why? Because if somebody is guilty, you are associating that to some sort of shaming from the society. And this would come from the time when we were living in tribes, and we would be groups of maybe 50 people. And if somebody did something against somebody else, we need to make sure that everybody is in service of the community. Now, if somebody is doing something against somebody else in the community, we have to check, because unchecked, these people will just be unruly and they will do what they want, and they will not be good members of the clan or the tribe. And when the times are dangerous, they are not going to help the tribe to survive. They're actually going to be seeding discord and also the problems. So when we go through a challenging moment in life, then that's not going to help the whole community unified to struggle against whatever is happening, whether it's a famine, whether it's a war against another tribe, or defending against some wild animals, or whatever has to happen. We have to be united. If you have 3 warriors going to defend the tribe against some wild animals which are coming to fight, and then the warriors are starting, fighting against each other, then forget it. There's no defense. So we have to make sure that there is some rules that people abide by. And so if somebody is doing something wrong and they are guilty of that, they utilize this mechanism of shaming from the community for the person to go back in its tracks, right? Go back to the place, go back to being aligned with the rest of the community. So shame has been a tool that has been utilized, the motion of shame has been utilized for a long time, and we can see this a lot in the Catholic Church, yeah? How utilize the shaming to try to making you follow certain rules that are established. In the Catholic Church, I mention it because, I was born Catholic, so I am very familiar with the concept of sin. And apparently you are a sinner even from the moment you are born already, and so you have to feel guilty. And mea culpa, mea culpa, mea culpa. Yeah, this sentence that we have to repeat so much in that within the embrace of the church to make you feel guilty, and therefore it's a shameful thing, and you have to redeem yourself, and that's why you have to seek God through the priest and all the church and all that. Well, I don't agree with that kind of sentiment, I think there is very healthy new approaches to spirituality, even within the church. Right now, there's a healthier approach. But the concept that we are sinful and that we have to feel ashamed of who we are just by being ourselves, and so we have to deal with that is actually utilizing this mechanism that is ingrained in us to help the community survive. So, and with shame comes pride, okay? That's inevitable. If you take one, the other one comes. So they are both together, right? If one is shamed, the other one is proud of following the rules, proud of being the one who never commits any crime, and so on, yeah? And that comes also with the victim, yeah? Because there can be also shame in the victim. Actually, that's why I put it in the middle, because you can feel ashamed of what's happened to you. And this is one of the things that makes people not to speak out when they suffer something, somebody did something to them, and they don't speak out because they feel ashamed of saying what happened to them. So this is very, very common. You can find this especially in children who go through some sort of abuse, be it physical or psychological. They will often not speak up. And, this is a whole mechanism which allows for bullying to perpetuate itself in a school or community where the bullied one will be ashamed of speaking out and nobody says anything, and then the bullying carries on. And so shame is the tool that is utilized to try for the guilty one to go back to being ruling, to being following the rules. But shame is also a feeling, an emotion that the victim one is going to experience. Yeah, no matter if you tell them, look, you didn't do anything wrong, this happened to you, you don't have to feel ashamed of that. But this is an emotion that it comes with being human, so it's going to be linked as well. But also pride, again, pride, the victim can be proud of what happened to them, and they can utilize their label of being a victim to try to gain pity from others. And then, oh, look at what happened to me. And there is a way of using the shame to get pity, to be in an empowering position to try to put down others or to get excuses for their own wrong behavior, or for not taking accountability of what they could have done or what they can do now, right? So this whole idea that, any challenge that happens in life is traumatic. I disagree with that. Just because you're going through some difficult moment doesn't have to be traumatic. But sometimes we allow ourselves to be traumatized just to fall into that victim category, and then out of that victim, not take accountability for your life. And you stay, oh, poor me. Oh, because look at what happened to me. And that's why today I feel like that. And it's so hard for me to stand in front of others and maybe, be a public speaker, because when I was little, oh, come on, you're an adult now. At some point you have to grow out of that. You cannot stay in that victim game. So we can see how this is a game, right? And you can stay trapped in the game of the victim and playing with the pity of others to get attention and to get people to do things for you because they feel pity of you, so they do things for you, so you are like feeding, on them. Oh, that's quite nasty. But this is a very, very common mechanism that happens. So you see, all these different roles, they are, the avenger as well, yeah? Somebody was the victim, so let me avenge them, yeah? Revenge, finding revenge. So that's another game here, yeah? So this is like a whole gang. The gang of infinite judgment, yeah? These are all friends. And the problem is, if you say, well, I'm not going to judge, I'm not going to be a judge, I don't want to judge, right? And you want to avoid judgment at all costs. But then one part of you feels like the victim of something. You can not separate being a victim from all these other games. So the moment you feel victim, you are emitting a judgment. And if you are emitting a judgment and you start doing things out of that judgment, you very, very quickly, through that judgment, create some sort of guilt feeling. You may go and try to revenge in some ways, maybe in nasty ways, maybe secondary ways, not directly, but through the back, for example. So something happened to me, I feel a victim now, but I will make a social media video about, that person, look at what they did to me, they were so nasty, and maybe you will make up some details, maybe you will exaggerate, and sometimes the mind believes those things. You can very easily convince yourself of something that you play in your mind, then you revenge through doing this social media post, and now by doing that post, now everybody starts shaming that person, and you know what? Maybe it wasn't real what you said. Maybe it wasn't, some people take that to play the role of the victim, and they become guilty of, creating that image of the other and playing on the shame of the other. They are also being the policeman and also the jailer, because by putting a video on the other one in social media, that's the jail. And you hold the keys to that jail, because that video is going to stay there forever. And even if it's wrong, even if it's false, how easy it is to say something false about somebody else, and you are kind of trying to keep them in that jail where everybody's going to look at them and just they are behind bars just because this person said something nasty, right? That's also a punisher, right? You are punishing at the same time. So you see, all these games come together, and you cannot say, well, I'm never going to play this one, but then you go in and play this one, because the moment you play one of them, all of them come together. This is like a gang. If you want, let me call one of my friends from this gang, because now he could help me in this situation in my life right now. So you call your friend Avenger, and with Avenger comes the policeman, the judge, the victim. All of these come together. So this is the way that games kind of cluster together within our mind. And it becomes different archetypes or different personality archetypes that we go back to. And anytime we allow ourselves to feel pity of ourselves, for example, right? So this works with pity, victim. Then anytime we reinforce it with the pity, we are just reinforcing the whole gang. Okay. So, at the moment, we are just identifying these mind games, and we will see what we can do with them. But let's talk about more of these mind games. Well, I said a few more already, even though I didn't separate them, but they are kind of connected, but I already mentioned a few. By the way, what this means is that playing the role of victim is never helpful. This is a game, So if something has happened to you and you suffered out of that as a consequence, deal with that. You can also denounce it. You can go to the police. You can actually say, this happened. There is a right protocol to follow if something has happened to you. But you don't need to play the role of the victim through that, right? You can say when something is wrong without going into the complaining about that something is wrong. Complaining is the game that the victim also plays, Oh, but you know what happened? But they did this to me. But you know what happened to me? But this buts. This is the complaining that doesn't take us anywhere. Just by complaining. Look, something is wrong. Go talk to the one, the authorities, right? Authorities. If you are in a job, in a business, who can you talk to deal with this? If there's something wrong, there's something that is damaging to others, that there is some kind of situation that it cannot be healthy for the whole environment, for the whole business to continue, don't just complain about it. Don't just become a victim of it, but go to who can make some change on this? And can we talk about it without complaining or without feeling like a victim? So Hell says, Prot victim is a very powerful image. Some ideas could make nationality out of it. What do you mean? Producing victims? Is that? Producing victims is a very powerful image. Some ideas could make nationality out of it. I'm not sure I understand you, Sohail. Can you explain the Can you explain it better? With different words? This making nationality? Yeah, elaborate a little bit. So complaining doesn't serve, being a victim doesn't serve, right? Feeling guilty doesn't serve, because if you feel guilty, if you did something wrong, if you did something that was damaging to somebody, to some others, right? Okay, you did it. What are you going to do now, right? Let's go and let's explore. Is there any way that I can help heal whatever happened? Is there something that I need to do to heal whatever happened with that person? And then also in parallel, maybe not, maybe yes, maybe I can talk to them and, heal whatever distrust or whatever has happened that broke our relationship. Maybe we need to do that. Or maybe not. Maybe it's something that I just did, and why I do? It was in the past. Why should I keep feeling guilty about that? When we fall into these games, we have a tendency to get so attached to them, and we hold on to them for our lives. So we may do something when we are little and feel guilty about that, and we can feel guilty for the rest of our lives for what we did. Look, I can recognize things that I did and they were not nice in my life. And I can look at them and realize I don't want to do this again. And I can learn from that and live my life the best way possible, that I don't repeat that kind of behavior. And that's it. Or I can keep feeling guilty all my life. And you know what, the guilty needs to be punished. So when you feel guilty about something that you did, you will start punishing yourself in very subconscious ways. Maybe not allowing yourself to be healthy. Maybe eating unhealthy foods is a way to punish yourself. Maybe also to compensate for the kind of negative feelings that you are feeling or expressing. Punishment, maybe, when there is a possibility for you to advance in some way, to grow in some way, and then you don't give yourself the opportunity to do it. And so maybe in that business example I was giving, there is an opportunity for advancement, an opportunity to go into a more leadership role, and then you're like, no, I cannot do that, because you feel that you are not good leading others, because you have a bad experience of when you were working in a group and you did something and somebody was harmed, and then you feel guilty about that, so you don't feel that you can take a leadership role. So you are stopping yourself from growing in many ways. So a great deal of how we get blocked in our life, in the progress in our life, is made by our own self-sabotage. And that can come from simply feeling guilty. If I feel guilty about myself, I need to be punished. A good way to punish myself is self-sabotage myself. So you see how they all live with each other. So there's no point of feeling a victim, always feeling, this trauma that happened to me, and you're never healed. You have to go to therapy for years and years and years. And often the therapy is just self-affirming the victim attitude, because you're going again and again over that thing that happened. Is that healing? Is that useful in some way? We have to be very careful with therapy. I do consultations, I also do kind of therapies, but you have to be very, very careful. And also understand something else. Oh, let me put this. Let me add another one here. Yeah. Avenger, there's the rescuer, right? Which is linked to therapies, yeah? The therapist often finds there is some particular fantasy in their psyche that they are rescuing somebody. I'm not saying always, right? I'm being very careful with the language, yeah? But there is often this kind of rescuing. So Hel says proud. Yeah, they are proud of helping others. So Hel, can you elaborate on the last comment that you did? I'm not understanding the concept about the nationality and the... Oh, proud victim, you were saying. Proud victim is a very powerful... Yeah, exactly, yeah. I feel proud of being a victim. Yeah, I understand now. Some ideas could make nationality out of it. Oh, like there's nations who feel like the proud victims of. Oh yeah. I think I know where you mean. If I hear a lot about this concept of racism, yeah, and you know, all white folks should be guilty, you know, should feel guilty because of our history, and you know, there's some racism in our blood or our DNA, let's say. So we should feel guilty about that, right? There is a lot of this proud victim that tries to play the game with you. This is like, I like this metaphor that Shiv Charan uses. It's like throwing a hook, right? Somebody's telling you, you're a white man, you have privilege, you should feel guilty, and they throw the hook, right? And then they're waiting to see if you bite. And many people will like, whoa, wait a moment, do I have privilege? And then if you feel at all guilty about yourself, then you're gonna bite, because it's like, well, I have a good house, I have a good life, I have beautiful daughters, and I have food on my table every day. I'm financially relatively secure. I feel I have so many advantages. Some people are living in poverty. So you start feeling guilty for what you have. And then you eat, yeah, you bite the hook and the sinker, right? How is it called? The hook has a bait, yeah, bait, hook, and sinker, something like that, I think is the expression, right? So you bite it, and then when they have you, then they start reeling in, right? Yeah, because you are guilty of all this, you should feel guilty. So there is a whole way of manipulation that utilizes these kind of strategies. There's gaslighting, yeah, and there is a lot of ways how they utilize this political correctness and these new ideas, even woke ideas, to try to play on with this possible victim feeling that you may have inside to make you bite. And then when they bite, then they have you. And then they can control you, they manipulate you to think in one way or think in another. And we are really susceptible to these things, particularly if you haven't grown a certain strength in you, a certain will in you, to realize that feeling guilty and feeling victim, proud and you know, feeling pride and shame, guilty and victim, they are not taking us anywhere, ever. It's just a good tool that people utilize to manipulate us. Yeah. And how is that? There was something that Shiv Charan used to say. It was like, shame. Pay attention. This is very important. Eh? Shame is the substitute that our ego generates to the humility of the soul. Shame is the substitute that the ego generates to the humility of the soul. I'm paraphrasing, yeah? So there is a certain, let's look at this. There is some universal values and virtues. There is a universal virtue of humility encoded within our soul. And anybody who connects to their soul, they can feel this humility. Humility is being small, being little, yeah? But then the ego makes you feel small by playing on this emotion of shame in you. So by shame, they are trying to force you to make you small. That's why in Christianism it was utilized for so long, yeah? Making you feel guilty about your sins is a good way to shame you into submission. If you are little, you are easier to manipulate. But hold on, there is a kind of humility that it doesn't need to play on the game of shame. There is a simple tuning in to that feeling within my soul that we are a little bit in the part of this universe. But I am valuable, this little bit. This is also valuable. No, it's not shaming. So shame is the ego substitute to the humility of the soul. Pride is the substitute from the ego to the dignity of the soul. Yeah, there is a certain dignity to our spiritual self, yeah, to being spiritual, to being, I am a spiritual self having a human experience. I am this spiritual being, I've been here before. I will come back again. We are just passing through, and there is some dignity to being aligned, to being human, to having this capacity to crown ourselves, right? If you awaken your Kundalini, you reach it to the crown, you're crowning yourself. There is a dignity in that. But the ego because ego doesn't have dignity. So it tries to recreate it with the emotion of pride. So you will see people being proud of how humble they are, right? And you will see these people who try to play with even the whole idea, the exercise the example I gave before about people trying to make you feel guilty about your race, right? I should feel guilty because I'm white. So they are trying to manipulate us, and they are proud of how they do that. Yeah, there is a pride in making you feel guilty. Even some people who play the game, they bite, and then white people, telling other white people that they should feel ashamed for being white. I mean, I cannot choose my color, right? That's my skin. But now I could play the game and I tell others, we should feel ashamed because we are white. And then I am proud of my shame. You see? So it's so difficult. You cannot stop one and allow the other, because as soon as you allow one, the other one comes. They are together. So dealing with this gang, we're going to have to deal with all of them. We cannot deal with only one. So we have to identify them and deal with all of them. That's really, really powerful. So yeah, thank you, Sohail, for suggesting that. Yeah, the proud victim, even as a nationality, yeah? Okay, now the rescuer and the therapist, let's go back to this point. The same thing. Even linked to this concept, these new ideas of people feeling ashamed of themselves or not, there's a lot of therapy linked to that as well. And the therapy world is very dangerous. I saw it as soon as I started to train to do some healing. I was like, wait a moment. Let's say I make this my profession. If I work as a healer in a therapy session, right? People are going to pay me for me to do the healing on them, right? Let's say it in that way. It sounds quite nasty, but let's say it in that way. Like they are passive and I am active. I'm the one healing them, which I totally don't subscribe to that. But okay, let's say it in that way. If you are paying me money for me to heal you, let's say, then next week you're going to come back for another session. Let's say I'm doing some Reiki or whatever, right? I have nothing against Reiki. This is not against Reiki. This is against this kind of idea behind therapies, yeah? And you can be a healthy therapist or an unhealthy therapist. So I'm just saying, identifying the game within the therapist world. So let's talk about the game. If you come to a session today, and then I'm going to say, well, you need more next week, come back, and then we do a little bit more, okay? Then next week you come back and you pay me money. Good, that's my profession. So, good, come back next week. We will have another session. And then they pay you money again. But wait a moment. When are you going to stop that? Because if you're in the therapy, the objective of therapy is to heal the person. The objective of the therapy is that the other person never comes back to your session again. But wait a moment. If this is a professional role you are taking to get money out of this exchange that is happening, you healing the other, then the moment that the other one heals, they are not going to come back. So if your livelihood depends on them coming back, subconsciously, at least, one part of you doesn't want them to get healed because you want them to come back. Do you see how nasty it is? It's your subconscious and your livelihood will depend on them not going away. Yeah, keep coming back. Sorry, I saw the message now. So ego uses shame as the skin of humility to camouflage. Yeah, exactly. It pretends that it's humility, but it's actually shame and humiliation. Humility or humiliation, yeah? Remember, these were the virus is how the ego plays the game of shame to humiliate us. Yeah, very good. So the therapy, even medicine, I think this is part of the game with Western medicine and the whole, I don't know if I want to get into this, but diseases and the medical world and medicines and the pharmaceuticals companies. And, if I produce a medicine that is going to heal you for something, but it's going to produce 3 other side effects, you're going to come back for these 3 other things later on. So it's good for me, good business, right? Then I can give you 3 more medicines, and these 3 more medicines have 9 side effects. So we'll come back for these 9 other ones, right? And it's difficult to get any medicine without side effects. Just look at the prospect on any medicine. But then again, if you have the disease, you need some medicine. So what do we do? You see the trap? I remember hearing somewhere, I don't even know if it's true, but I love the idea, yeah? I read it somewhere that in China, in the old times, you would pay to your local, in your town, everybody would pay a little bit to the local witch doctor or healer or whatever, medical, Chinese medicine has existed for probably more than 2,000 years. But you would pay a little bit every week that you are healthy. And if you fall sick, then that week you don't pay. And it's their job to come and give you, herbs or medicines, whatever they can give you to make sure you are coming back to being healthy, because then you can come back to paying. You see, that system I like. I don't even know if it's true. It sounds like a myth, but it's a beautiful myth. And I would subscribe to that. I think it's a lovely idea. And it's your responsibility as the healthy, as the one in charge of their health, to make sure they are healthy, not to make sure that they come back. And if they come back, they pay. And if they come back, it's because they are sick. I think that's a sick business. Yeah. That's why also in the world of yoga, we say, well, don't see your students as your means of earning money. If your business is teaching yoga, the moment that you have less students in your class, then you're going to feel threatened. Your business is threatened. And then you will start doing things to gain popularity. And it's very easy to gain popularity, but you start to pervert yourself and prostitute yourself and the teachings, right? To get more students. And that's nasty, right? So it's recommended that if you are a therapist, if you are a yoga teacher, that you don't make this your main source of income, right? Because otherwise your subconscious is gonna be playing these games with you. But I hope the idea is clear. Yeah, therapies, you cannot go into the therapy world and playing out the role of the rescuer. Also because, you will start playing your own games and feel good when somebody says, oh, how nice what you did, thank you very much. But you will feel horrible if somebody says, that was the worst therapy I've ever had. That was the worst yoga class I ever taught, I ever had. When I started teaching yoga, I was going to a fitness center, and I was the first Kundalini yogi in this fitness center, and I was dressed in white with the turban. My kind of turban at that time, they were not looking so good as now. They were looking quite nasty. And I don't particularly like turbans. I have some resistance with them, but maybe that's for another day. But I wear it for the teaching. I think it's useful and helpful for, my ideas to concentrate. So let's keep it at that. But when I started going to that fitness center, I had a lot of complaints. There was a lot of people, because, there was probably another teacher before me, and they probably liked her before more than me. And so a lot of the students were complaining about me, and I received a lot of comments, in the direction of the fitness center. But, I'm not gonna change the teachings. I'm gonna read them, and I'm gonna say, okay, what did they say about me? Is there something useful? This is applying our judgment in a critical way, in a healthy critical way. Discriminatively. How do you say that word? Discriminate? Well, discriminating. Okay, let's say it like that. They say something nasty about you or something not so nice about you, okay? And you take it and you read and you say, okay, is there something here? And also reading between the lines. Is there something here? And reading between the lines, by the way, that's the direct translation of the word intelligent. Interleggere, yeah? Inter is between, and leggere is reading, so it's reading between the lines. So apply my intelligence and extract with my intelligence the right understanding of whether there is something here for me or not. And that's your judgment. And you apply the judgment and say, okay, well, this person is nasty. They are attacking me. And I have absolutely nothing to learn from here. And I'm not even going to feel bad about it. And you have to say, why you do? And you let it go. Another one says something nasty, but there is something there that they mentioned and you was like, that's useful. Okay, maybe there's something that I can tune, I can change, because I'm learning as well. I'm talking about the first experience I had as a teaching in a yoga center. It was in a fitness center. So I was learning how to be a teacher. So I didn't know. So that was, okay, it's nasty how they said it, but that was useful. That I'm going to take. The nastiness, I throw it away. But that little jewel, I'm going to take. And then this very same critical capacity that you apply, the discernment, then you can bring it to the nice comments. Eventually, people started to get used to me. And then I started to have also the new student. And then I would get some praises. But then look at the praise in the same way. Okay, well, they're praising me. But are they just trying to get in my good favor and trying to be the favorite student or something like that? Am I going to play that game as well? No. So that's also not for me. Why you do? They are praising, but they are saying something about something that they enjoyed of how I taught the class. Oh, that's useful. Okay. Oh, so that was a good experience. I wasn't sure. Okay, so I'm going to take that and I'm going to learn from that. So somebody says something nice to you. Why you do? Somebody says something nasty to you. Why you do? Right? That's the attitude of the yogi, neutral, no matter what happens, yeah? And so if you go into yoga or therapies from the position of the rescuer, then you're not going to be in that neutral position. You're going to be hoping that they praise you, and then when they praise you, you're like, wonderful, and the day that something, they don't praise you, then you're going to feel terrible with yourself. So depending on what the others say, that's how good or how bad you feel inside. Again, losing that locus of control, that permeable membrane, yeah? And letting everything come in. So hopefully it becomes quite clear. Okay, so the game of being the rescuer and the rescued, yeah, that goes together. It's linked to the victim, yeah? So this is another game that we play very often. And this particular game, the rescuer and the rescued, comes in therapies, but it comes in also, you don't have to be a therapist to do this. This comes also, I'm trying to think whether I should pick a new color or not. Okay, let's do it like this. Help. Now, help is a mind game. Helping others is a mind game. Now, this is a concept that for some people is really quite hard to grasp, but let's play it like this. Let's put it like this. If you feel that you are helping somebody, there is a scent, there's a little bit of rescuing in there. You are, remember the 7, you are above the other because the other one needs your help and you can rescue them from the top. So there is a position of there's like superiority complex, yeah? Okay, by the way, now we can go into this. This was shame and pride, now we are going here. This is going to become a mind map. I wasn't planning it to do it like this, but it's going to be a mind map, yeah? Superiority and inferiority complex, yeah? And it can go both sides, eh? Asking for help as well. Being the constant victim, you're always asking people to help, or being the rescuer, you're always trying to help others. And that means if I'm helping somebody, it's because I am in a position that is better than them, so I am above them and I am rescuing them. There is that idea of the rescuer behind helping. So that it's already tainting your relationship, and whatever action you do from there, it's not neutral. And you know what? If it's not neutral, you know what that means? It means it is karmic. It means it is karmic. Now, remember, karma, it can go both ways. It can be good karma or bad karma. It doesn't have to be bad karma. So if you are helping others, You could be creating good karma, but it's karma anyway. This is not the dharmic path. And that's something that is very difficult for some people to accept, because most people who reach yoga, most people who I meet in the path of yoga and spirituality and numerology, they come there because they open their heart. And they opening their heart, they feel the sensitivity, that they notice what people are suffering through their compassion. Now the thing is, okay, you perceive somebody suffering, yeah? Through this empathy, yeah, the compassion. And then because somebody is suffering, you want to do something. And here is where the game comes. Let me help them. Wait a moment. Who asked you to help them? Did they ask for help as well? Sometimes we just want to help even if they don't ask for it. That's a game. All these examples that I'm giving today, hopefully it's an opportunity for afterwards, when you find yourself in a situation and you find that you want to help somebody, stop yourself and pay attention on what's happening inside. And ask yourself, first of all, do they really need help? Are they even asking for help? Do I have the license to help? Did they ask? Do I ask for permission? Can I help you? Is that even necessary? The moment that you try to help, you are trying to put yourself above the others. Now, okay, Ardaas, so what do? I feel they are suffering. What do? I just stay, arms crossed and just enjoy, witness the suffering of others? No. However, if you go into the path of helping, you will create karma. Good or bad, but you create karma. There is an alternative though, and it's the concept of service. Yoga, yeah? The karma yoga, yeah? Serving others, seva, is something neutral. Neutral means that you are not waiting for praise nor slander afterwards. Actually, you're not waiting for anything afterwards. Seva, which should be, the definition is called selfless service. Selfless service. Selfless means that you don't expect a reward nor a punishment out of that. And if anything comes, wahuru, but it's not for me. Yeah? So, seva is, there is a lot of ideas ingrained in different religions and traditions regarding seva, like in Spanish, the diezmo, we would call it, which is like giving 10% of your income or your the money that you make. I think that's the income, but there's another word for it. Benefits that you get, from the work that you do. The 10% of it goes back to those who need it. 10% of my time, of my energy, go back to those who need it. Satnam Kathy, Katikat, hello, welcome. Learning to use kind judgment more because humans don't really know how not to judge. Yeah. We need to talk about judgment. And there is a right way to apply judgment and there is the wrong way to apply judgment, just like there is right understanding and wrong understanding. We need to learn how to judge. Yeah, maybe we can come back to that and identify. Let me do that, okay, Kathy? Let me leave this for a little bit later. Let me identify a few more games and then we will come back to this point. Hopefully we can complete that idea maybe by the end of today's video. Service, selfless service. If you do something for somebody, or for example, you are in the mountain, you are hiking, or the forest, or the street. Let's say in the street, in the city, you're walking in the city, and then there is some litter on the ground. Just pick it up and throw it in a garbage can. Okay. I just saw something. I could do something. I did it. And I just let it go. And I continue, right? If you do that, that can be a form of service. That's service, right? You are serving the others. There is no waiting for a compensation, waiting for somebody to congratulate you or to give you thanks, not even thanks, okay? So if you do that looking around, see if somebody sees me. Oh, I'm doing it. And you may even feel like, oh, why do people throw papers? You may be angry. I hate people who throw papers in the ground. You're picking it and making it a show and a theater. You can recognize there's a lot of theater there. Theater are masks, like the Greek theater, like putting on a mask to pretend to be something that you are not. Well, hello. This mind games is the name of the masks. It's not so much connected right now. Let's put it here, mask. A mask is a lie. Yeah, you pretend to be something else. Masks and lies. Okay, we'll come back to that. All right, so you make the theater and the show, and you may even get angry. Why do people throw things in the ground and you're picking it up? That's not service. That's clearly not serva. And actually, we could even argue how much of that is helping, actually. Yes, you help a little bit to keep the city clean, but all the emotionality and the negativity that you are projecting, that's dirtying the space. Maybe you cannot see it, but you can feel it. Is bringing a lot of toxic, nauseous feeling and emotion and energy all around you. So is that really helping? So you see how easily, from the point of view of the person who is doing it, you think you are helping because you are cleaning the street. From the perspective of the others, is like, oh my God, that person's so angry and shouting. Oh, come on, if you don't want, just leave it there, the paper. But if you're gonna pick it up, just pick it up. Don't even make a show of it, right? Or then there's those who just pick it up and then they will go and they will say, today I saw the street, there was this paper on the ground, or there is a dog poop, right? Those people who walk with their dogs and they don't take care of them and they are bliss and they are that and they are this and they are that. There's all this anger happening. That's a very good indication that something is wrong. Look, anger. I talked about it in another video. I think it was in the introduction of Karam Kriya. I was saying how any emotion can have any color and that can be linked to a particular axis of numbers. And as we were exploring, I gave the example, well, what would be anger? Well, anger would be linked to fire, and fire is the third chakra. Well, I don't think why I put this diagram. It doesn't help at all. Anger would be linked to fire. Fire is linked to the third chakra. This is number 3. And I said 3 and 7 are connected. So look, the moment that you are in the 7, employing these mind games, yeah, any of these, it is very natural that as you do something in the 7, something is going to happen in the 3. So 3 being anger, it is very, very, very common that as a result of playing these games, there's going to be an anger. There's going to be some sort of physical rage or fire within. Like from being the jailer, from being the executioner, right? Being the policeman, being the judge, being the guilty one, feeling the victim. All of those you can be angry about. Yeah, there can be an accumulation of anger from all the situations you are living, and it's building up. So the moment you're feeling anger, even the word avenger, look how similar to anger is. I never noticed before. I was just seeing it here. I was talking about anger. I was like, look, avenger, yeah? Revenge is linked to anger, is inevitably. So anytime you are doing this, even as a therapist, you can be playing the game of rescuer and feel angry about the world. Somebody comes to your therapy and they tell you their story, and it's a horrible story, and you may feel angry about whoever did that nasty thing to them. So you have to be very, very careful and be very neutral. Katy says, thank you for bringing awareness to ego and speaking from the healer perspective. Yeah, I needed that on the spiritual journey. Yes, Master Destructive to us all, yes. But hold on, masks are also necessary, okay? Just like judgment, yeah? Judgment and masks, they are both necessary, but there are ways to work with the masks and work with the judgment that there is a healthy way. We will go into that because lies, the ego is a necessary lie. We talked about this in the last course, the course on the mind, how the ego is just, we put it as the source of all evil in our lives, but actually there is a way to ego become your amigo in some way, but it has to be, it's very specific, but we have to talk about that in detail to see how it can be refined, yeah? But the ego gives us the sense of identity, like the masks. Masks are linked to our sense of identity, and until we find our real self, until we reach that Buddhahood state, yeah, that Kati Buddha, yeah, until we reached there, we're gonna have a mask inevitably. It's inevitable. We'll always be playing masks. So it's a matter of choosing what kind of mask am I gonna wear. Protective mask against negative energies? Maybe you have to project a particular kind of attitude so that people will respect or do something in a particular situation, and you may need to put a particular mask to do that. There's negative energies, or to protect your children against negative energies. I was just thinking now, sometimes I have to pretend to be a little bit angry with my daughters. I'm not a very angry father at all. And it's actually difficult to do it because I'm always like, inside of me, I just want to hug them. But sometimes I have to be a bit more stern and serious and like, blah, 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 blah. And speak a little bit like that. And inside you can be laughing, but outside I cannot do that because it's a serious situation. If they don't understand that, then they can be exposed in a way in the outside world that they could be harmed. And they need to learn that. And the world is not a beautiful, wonderful place. There's a lot of toxicity out there. So to protect against negative energy, sometimes I have to put a face of something being very serious and even almost seem worried about that, so that they will like, wait, why is that like that today? That's important, because I'm never like this. So, oh, that's important. Well, not never. Sometimes I get angry as well. I'm not saying I'm never get angry, all right? I'm not perfect, yeah? But sometimes we need to consciously pretend to be very serious or stern or even angry, right? Sometimes we can use that fire in a particular way. So masks can be useful, but you can only learn to utilize the masks in a dharmic way when you have mastered the art of taking off masks and putting new ones. And that requires a lot of looking at yourself in the mirror, a lot of seeing all these. Look, the moment you learn, I didn't mention this, I should. This topic, this is nasty. Because the moment you learn this, there's no coming back. Look, I'm sorry, I should have started with that. All of you who are watching this video right now, there's no coming back. It's like, I'm gonna make a comparison, and maybe some people will not like it, but it's like eating meat. If you're a child and they put meat in your plate and your parents give you that to eat, then you eat it and that's it. You don't give it a second thought. Let's say you become an adult and you have your own awareness, and someday you find out about these slaughterhouses. Maybe you even see one from the inside, and you see what they are actually doing. And then you're like, what? This is how the food comes in my plate? I don't want that, right? So the moment you realize something, the moment you become aware of something, it's difficult to go back to being unaware. And I can say the karma that you accumulate from eating meat when you are little is almost not existent. You are depending on your parents and you are just doing what they are telling you. They said, eat meat. Do you eat the meat? If you, as a conscious human adult being, you see a little pig and you think, delicious, and you kill the pig and you eat it, there's going to be some karma. Now, don't take it wrong. There's karma everywhere in life. There's always karma. But if we try to live a yogic way, we're trying to accumulate the less karma the possible, because we also want to clean the other karma that we have accumulated. So when I was little, the food never has their eyes. Generally, they cut the face, of the animal that you're eating. Fish is a little bit dodgy. But the moment that you see it, it's so difficult to look at the animal in the eyes. 3 and 7, right? Looking in the eyes. What does Sohail say? We are inevitably project an image that is based on our memories. That is the mask. Yeah. The mask is linked to the memories and our values and our thoughts and our beliefs, all that we accumulate. That's why looking at yourself in the mirror means changing what is stored in here, yeah? But anyway, okay, let's go away from the food. Let's just say this. The moment that you become aware of this, now you have a different responsibility, because now you're aware of it. This is like seeing a slaughterhouse from the inside. Now, if you keep eating meat, now you have a certain more responsibility to that. So awareness brings responsibility. So the moment you become aware of this, now when you look at yourself in the mirror, now when you are talking about anything, you're in a situation and your instinctual first reaction is rah, and you get angry. And then you are like, oh, hold on. We were just talking about this with Ardaas. And then you're like, wait a moment. Maybe there is a mental game behind. And then you will start looking at yourself and say, whoa, where is that mental game coming from? And then, oh, I felt I was rescuing the other, or I was above the other. Like somebody's asking you for help. And then you go and help them. And then you don't even get a thanks. And then you get angry. Well, it's your fault for getting angry, right? Because you chose to help. And helping is not neutral. And neutral, you're expecting something in neutral. When you're not neutral, you're expecting something, at least a thanks. And then you will get angry. They don't even thank me. Oh, come on. Come down off your high horse. If you don't want to play these games, don't play them in the first place. If you have to expect that they are going to do something nice to you, and they can say thanks and whatever, and then next time you need help and you ask them and they don't help you, then you're going to get angry as well. I helped you when you needed it. So what? Did we sign a contract? Now I have to help you? And this is how it works. This help idea. That's why in seva, in service, it's neutral. You don't expect anything in return. And you do it as anonymously as possible. So it's much better to actually do seva and go to a shelter for homeless people, for example, and you don't know them. You just go there, you give 10% of your time, or you give 10% of your income and to help this shelter or whatever. You go there, you serve soup. What you give them a blessing in your heart every time somebody comes inside. You're blessing them, a little prayer for them. You give the soup. What that's it. That's seva, right? And you don't expect a thanks. You don't expect anyone to give you anything, nor money, nor recognize what you're doing. You don't even need to tell others, look, this is the kind of seva I'm doing, because that's also could be a pride. Look how beautiful I am that I go every week to give food for the homeless people. If there is pride, if you are trying to tell others how beautiful the things that you do, then there's pride, then there's helping, is not seva anymore. That's why the more anonymous you keep it, the easier it is. To do seva to those that you know is harder, because then there is this intimate relationship, and maybe a few months down the line, you're going to remember that you did that. They're going to remember that you did that. They maybe feel compelled to compensate you in some way. And compensation is another way that we can see the game played between rescuer and rescued. Help and compensation. And there's people who live life from the victim attitude, expecting to be compensated in some way. Look, there is absolutely no compensation that one can receive ever in this life to compensate for whatever harm you suffered in your youth or whatever. There is no compensation that anyone can do. So why look for that? The only thing you can do is just let it go. There is nothing that anybody can do or say that is going to be, oh, okay, now I feel better about what happened to me. No, you can feel better about what happened by you healing the wound. That's therapy. That's the work of therapy, yeah? So it's difficult. I do consultations. When I do a consultation, I ask for money, and there's a professional exchange, and I'm not doing a service in some ways. In some ways, I am doing a service, but in other ways, it's like, okay, I have bills to pay. I have, electricity right now. I have to pay the internet. So they are paying for my time and my money, for my time, right? But then I do other things which are seva, and I don't expect anything in return. So seva, this attitude of the 10% is healthy when you are holding it in a way that you're not expecting anything for that, to compensate for anything. There's no compensation, and there's nothing in return for what you are doing. Kathy says, working on Buddha's state of being, have to work through anger. Will screenshot this chart to help the fire Sagittarius within. 7 is the life path. Probably why guided to your video. Why you do? Yeah. Yes, indeed. Nice. Yeah, we all have some sort of anger, no? And very often it's some sort of residual anger, or very often also you can find passive aggression. That's kind of, that's more in my field. I have to deal a lot with passive aggression for whatever experience in my childhood, and I've felt suffering, like everybody has felt some suffering. Some people have more dramatic experiences than others, but then you have to choose what you do with that. You're going to stay angry all your life and feeling a victim, or you're going to change your attitude, heal yourself, then help others. Yeah, don't be so selfish. Yeah, there's all these words. Don't be selfish, be selfless, right? So this is all linked to that. No, if you receive something, then give 10% out, and then the universe gives the 100% back to you. No, so this is part of the mechanisms of service. Okay, where is that taking us? Oh my God, it's already an hour and a half, but we are not by far, not finished at all. This list is only beginning. So I wonder if this is going to be done in one video. I may need to do two parts on this, but okay, let's carry on. So helping, okay? Rescuing, helping, and waiting for people to compensate you, or to congratulate you, or to reward you. Yeah, looking for rewards. Rewards and punishment are linked. You see, punisher here. So, okay. There is also like the policeman. There is the policeman, but there is also the headhunter, Is it called like that? You go around the world like in the Wild West, looking for those who do wrong, and then you bringing them to justice, right? And you make that your duty in life, a headhunter, looking for the reward. Yeah, it's quite nasty, this topic of mind games. Kathy says, no expectations is how I've always lived. Yet others dislike this and take it as selfishness if I don't do what they do. But Kathy, let's be real, okay? Unless you're a Buddha already, in some ways you also have some expectations, and in some ways we have likes and dislikes, yeah? Until we get to that state, we have to recognize we are not perfect, and therefore we also have something. Maybe expectations is not your game. Maybe your game is a different one, but thank you for bringing it in. Let me put it down. Expectations. Because if I'm going to be a headhunter and bringing somebody to justice, I have an expectation that they are going to be punished and I'm going to be rewarded, right? If I help somebody, I have the expectation that I'm going to be compensated. So expectations are very, very much in line with all this. Thank you for bringing it in. And expectations is linked to, what else? Expectation is a fantasy. And it's linked to an illusion. Does it have two L's? I'm not sure. Illusion? Maybe, I'm not sure. So look at this. Expectations, fantasy, and illusion, this is all linked together. Because if I have an expectation, that means that out of my illusion of control of the world, I have a fantasy of what is going to happen, and I project it into the future. Now, this is the way, this is very interesting, the way the mind relates to the future. Let me read this first. True, and do have expectations in certain areas, but not in others. Yeah. It's just being, it's part of being humble, that we all play these games. To me, when I became first in contact with this, first it was an incredible tool to learn to self-explore and say, well, okay, look, this can be your roadmap to improve in your life. Okay, we will see how to work on this at the end of this work on mind games. First, we identified, and then how to work on it. But the idea is that you start identifying which is the aspect that you really need to work on, right? And maybe expectations is not for you. Maybe something else. Maybe it's the anger, or maybe whatever, right? Then we identify one that is tough, and we start working on that one, right? Maybe the victim. I want to stop feeling always like a victim. And now you put all your energy to work on this aspect. And it may take years to really purely clean that aspect out of our psyche. But the thing is, you cannot clean your victim attitude without also the shame and the pride and the policeman and the judge and all that. So inevitably, even if you are choosing only one to work on, at the same time you are working on all of them. But it's good that you work on one and you are reach as far as you can, and then you let it be there for a while, and then you choose another one and you start working on that one. So this is like a map of self-awareness and self-growth, choosing which all these areas are dark areas, and we can start to identify which is the one I have to work on. Maybe it's my masks, right? Maybe it's my wanting to rescue people. And come on, we can all identify something here. If not, let me carry on with it. we will put more here that is going to give us more ideas. This fantasy, let's go back to this fantasy. Look, the mind, and this is something that Sohail was saying, no, yeah, but something is based on what we have in our beliefs, yeah, or our ideas is something that we have stored. I think he said something like that. Project an image that is based on our memories, that is the mask. Yeah. So, okay. So, based on my memories, we can live in fear of the future, right? Based on my fear that is going to repeat something that happened in the past, right? Something happened in the past that hurt me. Now I look towards the future and I'm afraid that it's going to repeat. That's how fears start, yeah? Being afraid because you have an expectation. If I do this, maybe this will happen, and you're afraid of that. So that expectation, yeah, and that's a fantasy of what could happen. You visualize it inside your mind, and then you create a fear to what's happening. So this is how fear plays in with this idea, with this whole projection of our expectations, yeah? Projection as well, projecting. Linked to illusion, yeah, and fantasies. Projection means there's something nasty in me. I'm having a negative thought, and so I assume everybody also has these kind of thoughts. So maybe this is very commonly found in couples, and one will have a negative thought, and they will say, "Oh, you are thinking that way," and the other one is, "Well, what? Why are you saying I'm thinking that way?" Well, they are saying that because they are thinking it, because it's in their head. And they are projecting it outside. So this is very good, a very useful way to deal with narcissist people and people who are gaslighting, when they are trying to make you believe that you are the guilty one, that you are wrong. No matter what you do, you are wrong, right? And you can be doing anything, and it's like they found something wrong that you are doing. Then they are projecting what is happening in their brain. And that's all sorts of nasty stuff in there, yeah? But we need to recognize this projection, recognize this illusion, these fantasies. This is super important. And also, hold on, because if this is the map of improvement, and I can detect all these mind games that we can play in the mind, this was my personal challenge, personally. The moment that I learned this, and I started to apply it to myself, it became really, really hard, because I was very good at it, at identifying it. Not so good at dealing with it, but very good at identifying it, which caused two side effects. One, my guilt level went over the roof, because I started feeling guilty about having mind games. So guilty about having guilt. So, right? And then I was the victim. Yeah, I was feeling guilt for the mind games, but I was feeling the victim of my own mind games. Do you see how easy? And then being ashamed of falling into them, because now I knew I'm conscious of this. Why cannot I do better? So I am ashamed of doing that. And I was trying, it's a mess. It's a real mess. So two things happen, right? As you learn mind games, first, you see much more clearly all the mind games that you're playing. That's a nasty stuff to get into. Second, you start seeing all these mind games in the people. And that was the most difficult thing for me. Katy says yes, and Sohail says it's better to say we are inevitably the projection of the image of the mask. The projection of the image and the mask. Yes, but then that's where comes in place that we can choose what kind of mask we project. So if I'm going to project anyway, let me choose the kind of mask that I want to choose. And we can choose a mask that is as close as possible to our real self. And part of the work of the spiritual path is what we call make up and break up, make up and break up, make up and break up until you wake up. Yeah? You make a new mask, and then it doesn't serve you anymore. So we break the mask. We create a new mask until it doesn't serve me anymore, and then we break it. And make up and break up and make up and break up until we wake up, right? That's a good line to have. And so we can choose what kind of mask I want to project. And again, you can be very neutral inside and putting the mask, like what I say about my daughters, and maybe I have to be more serious. So I can choose what kind of mask to utilize. In a training, sometimes I will get very serious, or I will say something very serious to a student or to a client in a therapy, because sometimes they need that. And you have to recognize they need that mask for them to take it seriously. So, okay, I'm going to be serious. Even if inside you are like, I don't want to be serious, but okay, they need me to be serious, I'm going to be serious, right? So it may happen like that. So you can choose that mask. Where was I? Right, two things. So, one, as you become aware of these mind games, it becomes really tough for yourself to be real and to see all the games that you play and not feel guilty about them. Okay, so see it and say, okay, all right, I'm not perfect. I play games. Let's work it out, and let's not feel guilty about it. Yeah, straight away. The very first I have to do. I don't have to judge myself guilty of playing games, because we all play games until we get to Buddhahood. Until we all get to Buddhahood, we all play games. Therefore, let's first of all don't feed the guilty as we play them. And the second, which was really hard for me as well, was becoming aware of all the mind games that were playing in the other people. I remember distinctly talking to my mother and starting to see, whoa, that's a mind game, and that's a mind game, and that's a mind game. And trying to get her to understand, and trying to explain to her that that's a game, and try to get her to stop that playing that game. Now, that's ridiculous, right? So I had no license to do it, right? No, she didn't ask for help, right? And I was trying to help. That was my playing the rescuer of her mind games. And I was trying to impose my new understanding of how life has to be, trying to change her. What right do I have to do that, right? So it's really hard. Also, later I calm down, right? But from a compassionate point of view, it keeps being hard. When you are in the position of a teacher or a therapist and you are talking to a student or a client, and they are telling you how much they are going through, and they are really suffering, and you can identify so clearly in your head, you can see what mind game is happening. It's so clearly. But then what can you do with that? And how much license do you have to do anything with that? If they are asking directly, and if it's a therapy, a consultation, you may have some license to do that, but very often you don't. We assume we have, but we don't. And then what can we do? Well, one of the things that we can do is be a witness. Be a witness to what is happening, observe it. Don't judge it like it's something wrong. Maybe they have to go through that experience to learn something themselves. I mean, we always have to go through the experiences, and we can always learn something, so we can always assume that. Assumptions, yeah? Oh, that's another one. It goes links to expectations, yeah? Sorry, I'm keep adding things to this list. So if you see somebody who is suffering, and it doesn't give you any license to try to rescue them, first of all. Second of all, can you just be a witness and apply forgiveness? Now, this topic of forgiveness will be a whole nother video. Okay, it will be. It's one of the first research I developed when I started looking into yoga, and it's considered the first step in the spiritual path, because forgiveness. If we don't forgive, either forgive the other for what they did to us, yeah, that's the victim attitude, something happened to me, or forgive myself for what I did to others, the guilt. Now, if we don't forgive, which is these two, remember, you bring one mind game, the whole gang shows up. You ring one, the whole gang shows up. No, I only wanted this. No. All of them come. So if you don't deal with this, and dealing with this means forgiving yourself and others, there's a lot of things to forgive. You can forgive your destiny, forgive God for what put you through, forgive your family that you were born into. Actually, you chose to be born in that family when you were in the ethers back there. But, forgive all these things. If you don't forgive, all the mind games come in, and that's going to be tainting your whole experience. Everything that comes afterwards, right? So forgiveness is the first step in the spiritual path. We're going to go into that in great detail in another video, which are the steps to forgiveness and how to walk through the steps, how to recognize in which of the steps of forgiveness we are. There's a whole science, yogic science, to get to forgiveness. And that's fascinating, really useful to heal wounds. So we will go into that in depth. But we are here. So expectations and assumptions, projections, compensations, helping. Oh, there was something I mentioned as well. Demonstrate to others. So like you are picking up the piece of paper from the ground and then showing it to others. Look at what I'm doing. I'm doing so much help. I'm helping others, right? Because you are proud, you're proud of it, and trying to get some sort of compensation, right? But also demonstrate also means to demonstrate, to show, but also means to show others that you are right. Because of your attitude, whatever you are doing, you are the one who is right and they are wrong, right? It's how is it called? Righteousness, self-righteousness, yeah? So this is called being self-righteous. Yeah, being right all the time. And this is linked, remember, all this comes from an intellectual exercise. It all starts in the mind. And the mind is rational. And through rational thought, especially if you're an intelligent guy or girl, there is a part of you that wants to be right. Good, okay, right understanding is fine. But when you want to be right in spite of anything, then that creates a problem, yeah? Kathy says, wow, that really resonates with me about being a rescuer. Mm-hmm. Good, that's it. You choose one and then you start working on that one, yeah? So, in couples, we can see this often in the polarity between male and female energy, because the male energy is more linked to the intellectual understanding of what happened. And the female energy is more linked to the emotional processing of what happened. So the woman will speak through an emotional language, and emotions are not rational. And the man will speak in a rational language, and the man will try to be right, and will try to prove the woman is not right because they are not being rational. And the woman is like, but you are not feeling the emotion, so that's also not right, not to feel the emotion, but the man will not understanding. And it's like a typical complex interaction between man and woman, typical. So try to be right all the time, it's just wrong. Yes, you may be intellectually you're right, but if by being right you are causing distress in the relationship, then that's not right, that's wrong. And you are not intelligent enough to notice that being right all the time just causes all sorts of conflicts. Trying to let go of perfectionism. Yes, to be right and to be perfect. Okay, good. Let's keep adding, yeah? Self-righteous, perfectionism. And perfectionism is going to be linked also to expectation, even the expectation that we can be. Let me see if I can put the camera a bit higher, because it's getting very big, this image. So, self-righteous, perfectionism. Perfectionism is one that resonates with me a lot. This is why when I would look at other people and see the mind games, I would get very anxious and restless. I'm like, come on, people, work on yourselves. I would be like that, which is silly because I would not be working on my patience and my perfectionism, which is linked to number 9. If anybody has 9s in the date of birth, we will see. When we get to number 9, you will see how it's this aspect of restlessness and perfectionism and wanting to get all the details right. Right. But, excuse me. So, in order to be right, you have to prove the others that you are right. Let me change color because otherwise it will be a bit messy. So to prove the others that you are right, you start giving reasons why you think it's right. So reasoning, which is intellectual reasoning and is also analytical and rational, right? So reasoning and rational thinking, giving reasons, explaining yourself. And even worse, justifying. Justifying is an incredible one. And we will get to this when we talk about the 7 steps to heaven and hell, which is another of the topics we will explore in another video of these ones. I know I'm opening a lot of avenues, yeah? We need to do a video on the forgiveness. We need to do another one on 7 steps to heaven and hell. Well, I made a mistake talking about not being perfect. I pressed a button in the keyboard. I wanted to take a note on the video to make a new video on forgiveness, because I want to make sure that I do that, and the 7 steps to heaven and hell. And I pressed a button on the keyboard, and apparently that was the button to close the session. I don't even know which button that is, but hopefully I don't press it again, and I will have to learn what is the button. So sorry everybody who was watching live, and hopefully you can find the stream again, and I will just join the two streams together. It happened accidentally, but I will take it anyway as an opportunity to stop this. So I will make a stop here. I will stop the stream, and then I will come back with the second part on mind games in the following video, because it was already quite long. So we will stop this image here. We will carry on in the next video, and then we will complete not only identifying the mind games but also what to do with them. Yeah. So we will do that in the next video, and it will be a little bit abrupt, this stop, but then maybe it had to be like this. So I will just accept it. Waheguru. And until next time, Naam.